What's the latest in the Israel-Hamas War? Yahya Sinwar has been appointed to succeed Ismail Haniyeh as Hamas's leader as the Middle East continues to brace for Iran's retaliation. The fighting in Gaza is continuing and there are flare-ups in the West Bank. This is day 305 to the war. I am Alon Burstein. Let's dive in. Hamas announced today, August 6th, that the successor of Ismail Haniyeh as the leader of Hamas's political bureau will be the leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip, Yahya Sinwar. Sinwar was the architect of the October 7th attack and has led Hamas in the Gaza Strip since 2017, where he also succeeded Ismail Haniyeh as the leader of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. This election marks a critical shift in Hamas's leadership structure. Historically, since the assassination of Hamas's founder, Ahmed Yassin, in 2004, the internal leadership has been subordinate to the external leadership, and despite friction between the sides, this structure has been maintained for 20 years. During the war, however, the external leadership has been frequently quote-unquote embarrassed by the fact that it had no control over the internal leadership, leading to a situation where Haniyeh was conducting negotiations in Qatar as Hamas's official leader, but he often had no ability to give the movement's official position without getting clearance from the internal leadership, i.e. from Yahya Sinwar. Another example of this comes from the past several days, when there were rumors that the external leadership was pushing for Khalid Mashal to take over the leadership position that he had previously held until 2017. However, this was to some extent vetoed by Sinwar, and thus that decision or that momentum from the external leadership did not in fact come to the fold. Sinwar's election is to some extent therefore a signal that the external leadership recognizes the rising prominence of the position of Yahya Sinwar, and possibly the inability of the external leadership to challenge his authority, leading to his positioning as the official leader of the political bureau and therefore of Hamas. Now, it's important to note that Hamas announced several days ago that the new leader will only be in position temporarily until the movement's Shura Council has an official election in the coming months to elect an official leader of Hamas. Nonetheless, the positioning of Sinwar specifically in this role may also signal a new and important development within the movement, shifting the weight from the external leadership towards the Palestinian territories, i.e. towards the headquarters in the Gaza Strip. In other words, if Sinwar maintains his position and also remains within the Gaza Strip, the external leadership of the movement may gradually lose its function, since both the political leadership and the military leadership will be placed within the Gaza Strip. Moreover, with the assassination of Mohammed Def, the leader of the Al-Qassam Brigades, Yahya Sinwar recently appointed a new leader for the Al-Qassam Brigades, but in essence they remain under his control. In that sense, this is the first time in 20 years that the political leader of Hamas is also the overarching military leader of Hamas, a position that no one has held for 20 years since the assassination of Ahmed Yassin, making Yahya Sinwar first in this role and the most powerful figure within Hamas for at least 20 years. Yahya Sinwar's deputy during his leadership of the Hamas movement within the Gaza Strip has been appointed the deputy leader of the political bureau as well. In other words, the entire internal leadership of the Gaza Strip has been elevated to be the leadership of the Hamas movement. Al-Haya is likely to become a more public figure in the coming weeks, since while Sinwar is still in hiding in the Gaza Strip, Al-Haya is abroad. His last known whereabouts were in Egypt, but he's likely to become a more public figure. Among the reactions to the appointment, Hezbollah welcomed Sinwar as the new leader of Hamas, stating that Israel is showing that it accomplishes nothing with its assassinations. The Secretary General of the Palestine Liberation Organization, the PLO, that is Jibril Rajoub, also put out a supportive message of this appointment, stating in an El Miadin interview that the appointment is, quote, a logical and expected response to the murder of Ismail Haniyeh, adding that Sinwar is a pragmatic, realist, and logical man. The IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari stated in an Al Arabiya interview that, quote, there is only one place for Yahya Sinwar, and that is alongside Mohammed Def and all the other terrorists responsible for October 7th. So that is the biggest story that is coming out in the last several days, the appointment of Yahya Sinwar to this seemingly newly created position within Hamas, the leader of the political bureau, who is also responsible for the military wing within the Gaza Strip. Alongside this appointment, the other major development within the war in the last several days is the ongoing preparation and expectation for Iran's retaliation. Iran has vowed to attack Israel directly following the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran on July 31st. The entire region has been bracing for this retaliation, which is likely to involve Hezbollah as well as other associated militias within the region. While Hezbollah is in theory also retaliating for the assassination of Fuad Shukr, the movement's chief of staff, who was assassinated on the same day as Ismail Haniyeh, the other Iranian-affiliated militias may join in the attack and target either Israel or U.S. targets throughout the Middle East, possibly in an attempt to distract the U.S. forces and complicate the regional air defenses that we witnessed back in April when we saw the entire region cooperate in order to intercept the Iranian retaliation. There have been numerous reports throughout the past several days about the planned attack, with some estimates suggesting that the attack will happen any day, while others suggesting that Iran may be postponing its attack to coincide with the 9th day of Av, that is the Jewish holiday of mourning the destruction of the Second Temple, which this year is going to take place next week on August 12th, August 13th. Other reports have also estimated that Iran may carry out a more focused attack, trying to carry out a high-profile assassination or an attack in an Israeli embassy, while others have suggested there will be a staged attack over several days, with swarms of drones and missiles being fired. All this is to say there's a lot of estimates that are coming out in the last several days. No one really knows. Israel and the United States have been attempting to prepare for the different possibilities. General Michael Kurilla, who is the commander of the U.S. Central Command, visited Israel in the last several days in order to discuss these developments. Saudi Arabia also announced that it will not allow any missiles or drones to travel over its airspace, reportedly also transmitting this message directly to Iran. In addition, it was reported that Israel and the United States have been coordinating their defenses with the United Kingdom, as well as with the quote-unquote moderate Arab countries. However, I will add that it is very possible that fewer regional countries may want to participate in the air defense support this time as opposed to what happened in April, since the retaliation this time is happening for the assassination of a Palestinian leader. So unlike the last time, when Iran was retaliating to the assassination of an Iranian Revolutionary Guards general, it is very possible the regional actors may not want to be seen that they are on the side that assassinated the Palestinian leader, so there may be less support, or at least less public support, of countries like Jordan, or the United Arab Emirates, or Bahrain, or even Qatar. Remains to be seen what is the shape of that retaliation. While there were reports in the Wall Street Journal that Iran has been mobilizing missiles in the last several days, and there were also reports that pro-Iranian militias in southern Syria have been receiving truckloads of military equipment, right now there's mostly speculation about what and when that retaliation will take place. In a speech that was given on August 6, Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah stated that putting Israel in a quote-unquote waiting period is part of the retaliation, adding that this is part of the battle is psychological warfare. Meanwhile, the quote-unquote regular exchanges between Hezbollah and the IDF are continuing in the last several days, with barrages of rockets causing major fires to break out in northern Israel, and dozens of casualties resulting from rockets and drone attacks. IDF attacks in southern Lebanon also continue, targeting Hezbollah weapons warehouses, infrastructure, and military structures. Among others, on August 5th, the IDF assassinated Ali Jamal al-Din Jawad, one of the senior commanders of the Radwan force in southern Lebanon. Hezbollah also reported several casualties throughout the last several days, sending swarms of drones in retaliation to these assassinations targeting northern Israel. A swarm of these targeted Nahariya, causing a substantial amount of Israeli casualties. Other news from the war in the last several days. The IDF announced today, August 6, that Bilha Yinon, who was known as the last missing person from October 7th, has been confirmed dead. Yinon was the last person whose death had not been confirmed in the October 7th attack. She had been defined as missing up until now. It was not clear if she had been kidnapped or killed in the attack. Forensic evidence recently discovered led the military to conclude that she was killed in the October 7th attack alongside her husband in Netiv HaSara. On the hostage negotiation front, there is little news in the last several days. A delegation, including the heads of the Israeli Mossad and the Shabak, traveled to Egypt in the past days in order to continue negotiations. However, there were no reports of any advances that came out after that meeting. In Israel, it was reported 2 days ago that Prime Minister Netanyahu instructed the negotiation team to demand that high-ranking Palestinians who will be released from Israeli prisons in any deal be deported from the area. This was later criticized in Israel, stating that Netanyahu is again adding another point that will complicate negotiations. The Prime Minister's office rejected these allegations, stating that in the initial deal it was said that the deportation of high-ranking Palestinian prisoners would be negotiated, and this is now the demand of Prime Minister Netanyahu. Regarding the fighting in the Gaza Strip in the last several days, the intensive fighting continues to be in the different arenas in southern Gaza, in Rafah, as well as in the central parts of Gaza around the Netzarim corridor. That is the corridor the IDF maintains, dividing the Gaza Strip from north to south. Of significant note is the assassination of Jabir Aziz, a battalion commander of Hamas in Gaza City on August 4th. In addition, on that same day, the IDF also issued new evacuation orders instructing Palestinian civilians in different areas of Khan Yunis to evacuate to humanitarian zones in the Al-Mwasi region, indicating that the IDF again plans on expanding its activity in Khan Yunis. Remind everyone that the IDF evacuated from Khan Yunis on April 6th. It then re-entered Khan Yunis about a month ago, only to then pull out of it about a week ago. It seems likely now that the IDF is planning to re-enter that southern city. In addition, the fighting includes multiple airstrikes throughout the Gaza Strip in the last several days, and both the IDF and the Al-Qassam brigades have reported intensive gun battles that are occurring in the Tel Sultan region of Rafah. Regarding casualties, the IDF is reporting that 329 IDF soldiers have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the invasion began, and 2,190 IDF soldiers have been injured in the Gaza Strip since the invasion began in late October. The Palestinian Health Ministry in the Gaza Strip is reporting that 39,653 Palestinians have been killed in the Gaza Strip since the war began. This includes both militants and civilians. And then 91,535 Palestinians have been injured in the Gaza Strip since the war began. Other news from the last several days are coming out of the West Bank, where there's been a consistent escalation in the last several days in several different arenas. Among others, the IDF has carried out a major operation within both Jenin and the Jenin refugee camp, including airstrikes targeting different Palestinian militant operatives throughout the area. In addition to that, in different incidents, Israeli settlers raided the Palestinian village of Yatma, torching cars and setting fires to the surrounding area. Another attack against Palestinians occurred in the Khirbat Atuba region. In addition, a Palestinian attack also occurred in the tunnel checkpoint south of Jerusalem, where a Palestinian attacker stabbed a border police woman before being shot dead, and there were several other incidents of Palestinian stone throwing reported throughout the West Bank. Those are my highlights from the last several days. Again, the biggest news coming out is the appointment of Yahya Sinuar to be the leader of Hamas's political bureau. However, the importance of that is that this is a merging of the ostensibly the leadership of the military wing with the political wing, making Yahya Sinwar the most powerful man within the Hamas movement, as well as the fact that the entire region is bracing for Iran's retaliation. Remains to be seen how that is going to play out. I am Alon Burstein. I'm a visiting assistant professor and an Israel Institute fellow at Tufts University. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.